Hello again. This is an update to a review that I did for an electric conversion kit for my Brompton bike. I did do a review on YouTube, but the sound quality was poor, and I thought it would be nice to go over the salient points again whilst having a leisurely ride along one of our favourite routes at Lytham St Anne's. I should state at the outset that I have no affiliation with the manufacturer of this kit, Woosh, and I have no affiliation with neither Brompton nor a company called Estarli, whose bike you see on the left there, ridden by my wife, and I'm going to give that a review as well whilst we ride along. Now, I bought this kit for the Brompton to enable me to keep up with that bike that you see there on the more hilly routes that we now take. And I did contemplate briefly at one point selling my Brompton and buying one. It's a very impressive bike. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But in the back of my mind, I wanted to hold on to the Brompton. Those of you who own one will know that they're a very special bike, and I thought it far better to modify it than to part with it. And I'm glad I did that, and I'll tell you the reasons why as we go along. So the kit that I bought is called a Q70, and as I say, the company is Woosh in Berkhamsted. The Q70 is claimed to have a mileage range of 30, and I, though I can't vouch for that because I've not ridden it to its limit, I can say that on this particular ride today, for instance, which was about 10 miles, I lost only one segment of the battery. So, but you know, sometime soon we do intend to check both bikes for the the duration of their battery life, and we'll report back again on that at a later date. Incidentally, that is me fitting the plug to my motor. I was actually thinking how quiet my bike was electrically compared to my wife's, and then realised I wasn't even plugged in. But that is a testimony to how unintrusive this system is. If you have the power off, it rides just the same as the old Brompton. There's no change at all. You know, even with the additional encumbrance of a motorised front wheel and a battery on the front stem. So yeah, going back to the Q70, the cost of it was £499, and that is about roughly half the price of the majority of the other kits that I looked at, and that included Switch and Citronex, Nano, and the Arc was even more expensive at £1,700, and you had to send it away to the manufacturer for them to install. And then moving on upwards again, of course, is the original Brompton electric bike, which is the grand sum of about £2,400. I wanted to keep the cost to an absolute minimum, and I also wanted to keep the risk to a minimum, which is why I opted for this one, with the supplier being in this country. I thought I could always, the option would always be with me to actually drive down to the company and iron out any problems. Anyway, I didn't have any problems at all. It went on, I will say, easily enough, with the addition of a couple of tools bought from Brilliant Bikes, namely an Allen key for the main crank and a bottom bracket tool to enable me to fit the power, what do they call it, the PAS, the power assistance sensor, PAS. Yes, on this bike, the PAS is not a clip-on fit like it is on many other electric kits. This is actually permanently bolted onto the main bottom bracket, and that's a good thing, because you can't accidentally kick it off when you're pedaling. Now, the Q70 is what they call stem mounted, and at the end of the video I'll put a picture up of the bag that the battery comes in. And the idea of it is that it mounts on like a Velcro strap system on the front stem. And I will say right from the outset that it doesn't work very well fitted like that. There's too much movement in it, and I knew when I bought it that I would have to modify a more solid way of fitting it to the bike, and I did that by buying a bracket from Amazon, which clips onto the luggage rack and has, you know, various holes drilled into it for you know, a bungee cord that I can secure the battery to the frame. That works really well. It means that you know, I can disconnect the motor, disconnect the cable that goes to the PAS, disconnect the cable that goes to the controller on the handlebars, and just lift the battery away, rather, like you would do with a piece of luggage. Take it into the house and, you know, charge it up as a separate item. It works very well. But I have to mention that they do another option for the Brompton, which is called a frog mount. That's a bigger system. The battery is a 36 volt, 13 amp hour, with a claimed mileage range of 50 miles. That comes with a special bracket that replaces your luggage mount. So that's a, you know, a permanent fixture, and that's why I didn't buy it. As long with the cost, I wanted the option of being able to leave my battery at home and just put on a standard bag and ride this bike like I normally ride it. But anyway, that option is there for people who want a greater range on their Brompton bike. Now then, what else shall I say about this? Now, let me tell you a little bit about this route first. For those of you who don't know Lytham St Anne's, it's on the northwest coast of England, and this cycleway or walkway takes you from Lytham St Anne's right round to Blackpool and on up to Fleetwood. And I'm not sure of the mileage in total. I think it's probably around about 30 miles. So it makes for very good riding, because this, you know, the width of this is ample for cyclists. But as you go into Blackpool and up to Fleetwood, it's even wider. It becomes quite a wide boulevard. You know, the crowds are more numerous in Blackpool, and they've built the walkway wide enough to accommodate walkers and riders, and it's fantastic. They've spent a lot of money on it. But I like this bottom end at Lytham because because it's quieter, as you can see from here. I love this part of the coast along the estuary here, with the marshlands and the bird wildlife along there. You bring some binoculars, there's something like 250,000 birds migrate into this estuary every year. And we also like Lytham because once you come off the coast and go into the town, there is you know, there is a busy sort of town centre area where all the shops that you can imagine would be there, plenty of eating places, etc. But if you ride back on the inside roads, you come to Lytham Old Town, which is beautiful. They've got a lovely centre there, which is nice and refined, nice park, beautiful housing, plenty of places to have a cup of tea and a cake or a half a beer. It's just a nice part of the world, so if you get a chance to give it a try, then I thoroughly recommend it. Now, let me mention my wife's bike. Um, she is also a cyclist and owns a road bike. But we all know the beauty of folding bikes and that you can put them in the boot of the car and just take them with you wherever you wish to go. No heavy lifting onto a roof rack, which you couldn't possibly put an electric bike onto your roof rack anyway. I think it's actually against the law, even if you could lift it up there. So we researched bikes for her, and we actually trialled. We trialled a My Rider, which seems to be very popular on the internet if you look around. We didn't like that. It rode okay, but it seemed a sort of short bike, and it was quite heavy. A very heavy, chunky bike. Some people who own them actually really like them, but we didn't get on with it. And I discovered this company called Estarli, who are, I think, in Hertfordshire, and they make a 16-inch folder, a 20-inch folder, and a full-sized bike, which I think is the E28. So the E16, E20, E28, and the E28 had very good reviews. Beautiful bike that doesn't actually look like an electric bike. I've not seen one in person, but there are reviews on the internet, and check it out if you're looking for a full-size bike, electric bike with them. The problem was we wanted to actually try one out, and we didn't want to be driving down to Berkhamsted to do that. But we found a company called E20 bikes in Keswick, and we were planning to go up to Keswick and do an overnight for walking. And this E-Venture bike company hired these electric bikes out to the public, and of course the E20 was on their higher list. So what better way to trial a small folding bike that you may not be sure whether it's up to the task of hills than hiring one in Keswick, where the terrain is perfect for trialing a bike of that type. The bike shop were brilliant. They didn't hire one out to us. They loaned one to my wife and said, take it for a run, no restriction on time, enjoy it, come back and tell us what you think. So she actually tried out the 16-inch and the 20 and decided in the end that the 20-inch was the better of the two bikes, and I agreed with her. I rode both and thought that the 20-inch was the better of the two. What I like about the bike is that the battery is in the seat post, so it doesn't look like an electric bike, apart from the neat cabling that you see coming out of the the handlebars down to the system. But the seat post itself is the battery. You disconnect it at the bottom, remove the seat tube and seat, take it into the house to charge it overnight, or leave it on the bike, and there is a charging port on the bike itself. My bike is the motor is on the front wheel, but the Estarli is a rear wheel drive, and I have to say that the power delivery on her bike is smoother than on mine, and I think that's a good thing. When she trialled my bike, she was a bit taken aback by the force of the push, and her power feeds in much more gently than mine does. I don't think there's anything that I would complain about in regards to that with my bike. I quite like that power push. It lets me know that the battery is on and doing its job, and I have to say that her bike is more comfortable than mine, but I think that is down to the fact that it's fitted with Schwalbe Blackjack knobbly tyres. And where we live, we've got a long stretch of cobbles which she can ride over without any problem. And I ride over very uncomfortably. You know, as you know, you Brompton owners, the Schwalbe marathons that we have on require a PSI of about 105, and so they're effectively rock hard. I wish there was an option for Brompton with a wider tyre option, or maybe a knobbly option. If anybody knows of one, you could put it in the comment. But I think that is basically the difference between the bikes with regards to comfort. As I say, we don't know yet with range which one has the greater range. I would think that again, my kit comes out better because at the end of this ride, as I mentioned earlier, I'd lost a single bar, whereas my wife had lost 2 bars. So there we are. But her bike, as I say, Estarli, it was £1,400 because she had the option of upgrading the standard to, fully light fitted front and rear, and a substantial rear rack, which has got quite a loading capability. I think it's about 25 kilos. It'll take a child seat, that kind of thing. So anybody looking for, a folding bike with that option, it's one to look at in that respect. So yeah, there we are. Estarli, I do think it's a good bike, and I think we made a good choice. And it's certainly a fabulous bike to look at. The colour is great and the design is super. But it doesn't fold as well as the Brompton, and really, that's what the Brompton does, doesn't it? It just does it so well. There isn't a bike out there that can fold as well as it. And if I tell you that my previous car was a Hyundai i10, and those of you who own an i10 knows how tiny the boot is at the back of those. Well, the Brompton fits in it perfectly. You have to remove the partial shelf, but it just sits up perfectly against the rear of the back seat, with the bungee cord round the the supporting loops. It just looks so neat in the back of the i10. Needless to say, the E20 would not fit in the back of the i10 unless you folded down the seats. We've since changed the car. I've now got a Sandero car, and I can say that both bikes now do fit in the boot. But as I say, the Brompton wins the fold hands down. The E20 folds like a typical 20-inch bike. If anybody has owned one of the Dahons, they'll know that it folds exactly the same as that. It's not the neatest. It's not the neatest of folds, but what we do is we put it in a bag, and it goes, as I say, in the boot of the Sandero. We put it in the bag to save it. It's just that little bit more awkward. It's to save it damaging the paintwork or the back of the seat or anything like that. So for somebody looking for a ready-made bike, take a look at the Estarli E20. It's great. For those of you wanting to convert your Brompton, then by all means check out Woosh. And I would say that if you're not capable of doing it yourself, and you would rather have somebody fit a Nano or a Switch, then do that as well. I can say it is a joy to have a bit of electric power. The bike rides well without it, but when you come to a hill and you select to have a bit of assistance from the motor, it just takes you up there as if you were 20 years old. It's absolutely amazing, and I recommend it wholeheartedly. And as I say, with the joy of finding that if I don't want to take the battery at all, the bike, my bike, rides just the same as it did without the kit fitted. Um, you wouldn't know that there was any additional weight on there. So that's about it really. If you've got any questions that I've, details that I've missed, please ask, and I'll do what I can to answer them. So here ends the review. We're going to take a walk and a ride in to Lytham Town Centre now, and then ride back out through the smaller back streets. So by all means, carry on watching if you want to have a look at the area, or if not, thank you very much for listening and watching. Thank you. Cheerio. Bye bye.